I'm Jensen Hornbaker, and this is my presentation on why we need to stop going to Claire's for piercings. So how many of you have had a Claire's piercing or know someone who has? That's likely everyone in this room. As of 2009, Claire's claimed on their website that they'd pierced over 80 million years, and this number has definitely only grown in the last 16 years. So as an overview, piercings are an extremely common body modification. They're increasing in popularity so fast, it's insane. They're really fun, but they do require a lot more responsibility than a lot of people realize. They're a procedure that gets done in like 10 minutes, but they require up to a year of tender care and healing processes, longer for certain piercings. There are a lot of risks associated with piercings. I'm mainly focused on infection in my research as that's what I have experience with, but there can also be nerve damage and some bloodborne issues that come from improperly cleaned equipment or badly done piercings. Claire's has definitely made piercings seem a lot more accessible in local malls and through advertising, but their practices are not legitimate and they should not be seen as like a reputable piercer to go to and as commonly accepted as they are. I also have a graph here of the Association of Professional Piercers membership. So this is just how many people are able to do piercings in the US. As you can see, it's grown exponentially. So first off, the employees. So Washington County actually requires professional piercers to hold a license with in-depth training, but this is not the case in most states and areas. The Southern Utah rules do have an effect on our local Claire's, with many of their reviews being complaints about not having staff there that was able to pierce all the time. From what I can tell, it seems like they have about 5 piercers on staff that can actually perform the piercings. But Claire's store policy does not require a license for their employees to pierce. They undergo about 30 to 60 minutes of training and a cardboard ear. Then they get to meet their first person, do a discounted piercing on them, and then they're good to go. They're just set off. They're good at piercing now. Real legitimate piercers are usually required to undergo apprenticeships and more, a lot more training. Obviously, it's a body procedure. They need to know a lot more about sterilization, the risks, and how to aim. Claire's also has extremely unethical piercing policies for minors. If an adult brings a minor into the shop and insists on that minor getting a piercing, they will leave with a piercing whether they want to or not. In 2017, Raylene Marks was fired from a local Claire's for refusing to do a piercing on a 7-year-old who was saying, consistently, "I do not want this piercing done. Stop making me get this done." Piercings are a temporary, technically, but still a body modification that we cannot force people to do if they don't want to. She said in her open letter to Claire's, quote, "If a mother is physically restraining her daughter, holding her down and saying, 'Do it,' while that little girl cries and asks me not to, do I do the piercing? My manager did not hesitate to respond, 'Yes, you do that piercing.'" Claire's methods and practices are also less than legitimate. They, first of all, use piercing guns as opposed to needles like every other professional. I have never, in my research, found a professional that uses guns or recommends using them. The main issue with guns is that they cannot be properly sterilized, so they can't hold up to the rigorous procedures that you need to fully sterilize something that has gone through someone's ear or body part to be used on another person. The guns also cause excessive pain. They get an earring through using blunt force, whereas a needle more cuts your skin and then makes room for it. I've had 5 piercings done by a gun and 2 by a needle. My needle ones, I didn't feel at all. My gun ones, I cried for days and needed so much Advil. When Claire's pierced my lobes as recently as 2021, I was told to move my earrings around so that my skin didn't heal around them. They have a lot of methods and practices like this that are not true and you should not be doing. The main issue with that is that it means that your fingers would be constantly going to your ear, moving your earring around, trying to get it to not settle. I'm not super sure what they're trying to achieve with this, as none of that is true. Your skin wouldn't heal around an earring, and in fact, it should. You need to form a scab and heal through the piercing so it's not constantly an open wound. They also hand out a cleaning solution. They actually technically offer free piercings with the purchase of a cleaning solution. You'll notice I have circled here that it says it's saline free. Most industry professionals recommend you only use saline to clean your ears. Claire's also recommends uses this 3 times a day, where industry professionals say only use it if your piercing is giving you trouble. Just leave it alone, don't touch it. They also use butterfly earrings as opposed to flatbacks. I have a little chart here. Butterfly earrings are a lot easier to move around and get unsettled, whereas a flatback is much more locked in and stable. Butterfly earrings are also extremely hard to pull out if the worst should happen and your piercing gets embedded or infected. ER doctors constantly are saying flatbacks are easier to pull out, they're easier to manage, get flatback earrings. So, why do we care? Because of stories like mine and preventing them in the future. I've had a total of 5 piercings done by Claire's, and 4 of them have healed very badly. Don't know what's up with my double on this side, it just chills, I guess. But one of those trips did result in a trip to urgent care for me. So my first set of lobes healed very badly due to bad advice from the piercer. They said that I could change my earrings as soon as I wanted. This isn't the policy listed on their website anymore, but it was what I was told. So naturally, being 8, I went home and put in a bunch of dangly earrings. I was very bad. I was going to the school nurse consistently to like ooze out my piercings. It was bad. My third lobe was the worst by far. It was performed by an employee who was fresh out of training for a discounted price. I believe I got $20 off. This piercing took 2 runs with the gun to get through my ear due to her inexperience, and there were a lot of issues I had with it, but it got extremely infected, mainly because the photos you see here are exactly how I was pierced. They did not clip my hair back, and they did not excessively wipe my earring down or even take my other earrings out to pierce that one. I went to urgent care after about 4 months with this piercing due to an incredibly high fever and intense swelling around the back, and they did have to take the piercing out for me, in which I just called it. I was like, not worth it anymore, I'll get it re-pierced someday. These are some reviews even for the City Creek Mall Clairs, which is where I got mine done. As you can see, they averaged 3.8 stars. And about 2 miles away, there's Koi Piercing Studios, who's done other piercings for me, and they have 4.6 stars. Even locally, our St. George Clairs has an average of 3.6 stars, where Medusa Piercing Studio, only about 2 miles from campus, has 4.9 stars. And then on my next slide, I have my sources. Thank you so much.